Hello, everybody. I just want to take a second to answer some of the questions that I got from one of the lessons. I just kind of asked what was going well, what wasn't going well, what were some questions you had, and so I kind of curated a list of some of these questions, and I just want to go over them real quickly. I recognize that maybe the timing isn't perfect, and maybe that's just something I have to adjust with this whole distance learning thing. Is the timing of things and when things are due. I'm trying to keep due dates open as long as possible, but that means I'm not grading till I get everything in. So maybe there's a little bit of a hiccup there, but either way, this is a learning experience for us all. And just keep in mind, you just have to do the pass, no pass sort of deal. And right now, everybody who's engaging, honestly, like you can look at your grade, you're doing a great job. Altogether, though, let's talk about some of these issues, and let's just get started with how to rewrite a perfect square. And I understand the steps I have to do, but it's just that last one where you rewrite it as a perfect square. How do you do that? I understand how to do the k, but not the h. Okay, so this first part, this is just completing the square. And this isn't necessarily how you rewrite as a perfect square. That's that last line, rewrite as a perfect square. But when we're completing the square, there's actually a really interesting bit here, and that's this middle line here where we have b over 2 squared equals c. Now, that relationship is going to be critical when we're thinking about how to complete a square. And so or how to rewrite as a perfect square. So let's go ahead and look at it. So in a perfect square, in standard form, ax squared plus bx plus c, we got to remember that b over 2 squared is c. So thus, in a perfect square form, x plus m, I'm not using h here because I'm not necessarily talking about vertex. I'm just talking about a perfect square, though they are absolutely related. In a perfect square form of x plus some m squared, our m value is going to be either half of b, and it's also going to be the square root of c, okay, based on this relationship. Half of b is going to be the square root of c. So here's an actual example. So if we have x squared plus 6x plus 9. Okay, to find that m value of that perfect square, well, we know that m value has to be half of b. So here our b is 6, or 3. So we know that that value is 3. But at the same time, it's also the square root of c. And so in this case, the square root of c is the square root of 9, and the square root of 9 is 3. Now, it's also worth noting that the square root of 9 is plus or minus 3, so that's where the half of b is a better option. So whenever you write it as a perfect square, just take your b value, divide it by 2, and that's going to be your perfect square value. So I hope that answers that. Okay, another question. I think I actually understand this. I hope so. Thank you. I'm doing my best. My question is for the second problem was, so we have g of x equals x squared minus x minus 5, and then we have x squared minus x minus blank, and then, we ignored the minus 5 and all that sort of stuff. Oh, and here we are, that plus or minus 0.25. Would I use a plus or a minus for the third step to complete the square? 0.25 is positive, but the equation is using a minus. So I'm not sure if that was like a miss, or maybe you're talking about this minus, but essentially, how did we get that 0.25? Well, it would be positive, because to get that 0.25, what we did is we squared half of our b. So our b is negative 1, half of our b is negative 0.5, and then when we square it, we're multiplying negative 0.5 times a negative 0.5, and anytime we multiply a negative by a negative, it becomes positive. So this should be a plus 0.25. Okay. All right, let's keep going to a couple more questions. Almost there. For a, I'm pretty sure that the vertex as a fraction would be 5 halves and negative 13 fourths. And as a decimal, I think it would be 2.5 and negative 3.25. That looks right. Looks right. Looks right. I might be wrong, but I'm not sure 100%. Me either. I didn't do the math, but yeah, it looks okay. And my question is, how many questions are on the test? I probably should have told you that before. And are we allowed a note card as extra help? Well, yes. Also, while taking the test, will we be on a call with the whole class, or will we just take it online like every other quiz? So, I mean, obviously this already happened, so you kind of know the drill, but let me just talk over some of these points. Again, this is kind of my bad for not seeing this question earlier to tell you how many questions were on it. It's kind of the point where I'm kind of creating things as I go, so it's kind of hard to know ahead of time, because I'm converting all my paper notes and all my documents that I normally would print off, and I'm having to convert those into this online form, which is definitely challenging. One of the things that you're not getting, which is unfortunate, is the ability to graph, because there's not really a way to graph on Google Forms. So I'm trying to be creative with that, and I've talked with the other math teachers, and we're trying to come up with plans to do that better, to give you a better education, at least in the fall if we continue this, or if we ever have to go back to this, even if we do open up normally in the fall. So keep that in mind. We're going to be changing things ever so slightly, but for right now, we're going to write things out. If you have any urgent questions, like if you really need to know how many questions are on a thing, or if you really need to know an answer to something, please, please, please just email me. Um, um, Kind of view Edpuzzle as like my turn-in box. Like I wait till I get a stack of them to grade them all in once. So I'm trying to keep that self-paced so that you can do it whenever you want. But for my own sanity, I try to grade everything all at once. But if you have an urgent question, please don't hesitate to email me. I'm like literally always here. I have my phone on me all the time. It's linked to my school email, so I will get it immediately if you email me. So go ahead and do that, and I'll try to get back to you as soon as I'm at a computer and can make an answer. Um, Note cards are fine. Heck, you could probably use your whole notebook if you want. I can't really like police that. Ultimately, as long as you're understanding the math, that's what I care about. Do you have to have a safety net? I don't really care. The thing that I like about the note cards when we're in person is it gives you that safety net of this. These are the key things, and it kind of forces you to study. I understand with distance learning, it might be hard to be forced to study, right? You're not in a school environment. You're not in a classroom that is mostly quiet, except for a few personalities, but I love you anyway. It's hard to have that at home. There's a lot of distractions. I can't hang out and record a video without my cat bugging me every 5 minutes, as you've all seen. So I'm trying to respect that about your homes as much as possible. So use your note card, use your notebook if you need to. Be academically honest. The stakes are low. As long as you get a D, you're going to pass the class. And you're going to do yourself more good if you approach this honestly as much as we do it in the classroom. And we can address the things that are unknown. As for like video calls, North Clack still hasn't cleared us to do class calls. I would love to do just like in office hours where even if it's just a couple hours a week, if you want to pop in and say, hey, you can. If nobody pops in, that's fine too. But I would love to be able to structure something where we can actually interact with each other, screen to screen, but at least be in the same virtual space at the same time. We haven't been cleared to do that yet. I know other school districts are doing that. I know other schools are doing it, but we haven't. So until that changes, we're going to have to keep doing what we're doing. I'm missing the interaction personally. Maybe you are as well. I know some of you have voiced to me that you are missing that interaction. So we're going to have to get creative on how to do that. One of the strengths of our school and one of the strengths of our class is that we interact really well together. And it's really hard to lose that. But know that we're working on it. Know that we're trying to make it better. Know that we're not giving up on that. We're just trying to figure out how to make it work. I'm hoping, again, in the fall, we're well enough that we can all meet. But in case we can't, or in case we have another outbreak, one of the things that we're going to be doing is trying to find ways to do this online, and I'm hoping we can meet visually. And tests will be just like the quizzes at this point. You see that it's going to be the same sort of format. I'm not trying to throw you guys anything new from here on out. Maybe I'll try one new thing just to see if it works and to see if you like it, but I'm not trying to change things up. I understand you guys have a full plate, you have a full load, you've got a million logins to a million different, programs and apps. I want to respect that, and we'll just ride this out. Okay. All right, one more question. Okay, so for these problems specifically, A and B, all you need to do is find the vertex, write it in vertex form in the equation, and then write it as a perfect square, even if the square is like number 5 where it's 12.25 or 49 fourths. Yeah, totally. Also love the little video from the Student of the Month thing for Ari. Me and my mom laughed. Cool. Yeah, if you haven't checked out the Student of the Month video that went out, do that. It's, I kind of did a little skit to honor Ariana because she cracks me up, and the best I can do to honor that is to try to crack everybody else up too. So yeah, check that out. That was fun. But as for the actual math question, yeah, sometimes the perfect square is ugly. Sometimes you're going to get these decimals, or you're going to get it as a fraction. Trust your process. If you're doing the steps correctly, and you can use Desmos to double check. I posted a video about just a quick and easy way to use Desmos. One of the things I do as a teacher, is because my brain is so scattered. I'm trying to record a video. I'm trying to make sure I make a meeting. I'm trying to make sure I'm grading things. You know, I'm busy just like you all, and sometimes I might make a small calculation error. So to check myself, one of the things I do is I use Desmos a lot. Like I will plug in the standard form of the equation, and then I will plug in my vertex form of the equation and make sure they're the same graph. If they're not the same graph, that means I completed the square incorrectly, and I need to find my error. I recommend doing that as well. You know, plug in the standard form. When you've completed the square, plug that in to make sure that you did it correctly in vertex form. Quick, simple thing you can do, and if the lines overlay each other, you've done it perfectly. Okay, that was just a quick little answer to those questions. I hope that helps you all. I hope I'm being as clear as possible. I'm hoping I'm getting better throughout all of this, and I hope you're enjoying the class as much as you can, despite not being together. So thank you all very much. I hope you have a lovely week, and take care.